Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here. Let's get it Star Wars. Let's get it Star Wars in here.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio,
your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. I hope you've had a chance to listen and watch and hopefully even take part in our Book of Boba Fett after shows finale. Season finale aired this week, and with it, our season finale of the Book of Boba Fett after show. It's a great discussion, went a couple hours breaking the episode on down, and there were still many things we didn't get to. But we'll have a chance, hopefully, coming up in the cantina to talk more about that with our special guest. And, of course, we're going to be breaking down Book of Boba Fett for the next many, many months, if not years, as this whole Filoni-Favreau-verse unfolds. And, I'm not saying each character is going to get a book or a chapter or whatever, but, it's just going to continue to evolve, and we'll always be going back and saying, yeah, but remember in Book of Boba Fett season 1, there was, that's how it works. That's how it works. So, but as I say, we got coming up in the cantina, our dear friend Kyle Newman. It's been a while since we've actually sat down and talked to Kyle, and maybe his better half, Cynthia, will show up. Looking forward to catching up with him. Plus, while we have him, we might as well be talking about him. We've got Temuera Morrison and Ming-Na Wen still doing some publicity for Book of Boba Fett. That'll be coming up in headlines. And so stick around. It's going to be a great show. If you're new to the program, we know many are because of our after shows and some of our YouTube content. People are finding this podcast. So my name is Jason, and with me, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. It's a couple days after the end of the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know what I'm going to do without my weekly Star Wars fix, man. What am I going to do, man? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up at Rebel Force Radio because that's where I get my Star Wars fix. But it is a void knowing we're not going to be getting those Wednesday content drops here for the next 3 months. And I already miss it.
Yeah, I do too. My kids were asking, are we still going to do pizza on Wednesdays?
Oh, how sweet. Yeah.
I said,
when my kids were little ones like yours are now, our big thing was tacos and the Clone Wars. And we did that every Friday night. But on Wednesday, it's sometimes it's me and Dylan, my youngest son, who isn't that young anymore. We stay up till 2 a.m. to watch it drop.
Oh.
The new episodes.
I thought I was going to say you and Kona.
Kona's there sometimes too, but he is more of a fan of Hawkeye, so I can't really, he's not so into Boba Fett.
Well, there's a dog on that show, right? So
there must be, because he only watches shows with dogs in it because he likes to see himself represented. But no, I mean, I already miss it. I already miss Boba Fett. I really enjoyed it a lot. I just thought it was such a fun time. It was just a great ride. And Kyle's going to be joining up with us in a little while. And, very soon, as a matter of fact. And I'm sure he's going to have a more critical lens in which he sees this show through as a filmmaker himself. And I've certainly heard a lot of critiques from know-it-all armchair filmmakers sitting at home watching Boba Fett. I'm curious to hear what a true professional thinks about the show and how it was all put together and the vibe of the whole show. So I'm looking forward to jumping into the cantina with Kyle and also looking forward to the Book of Obi-Wan Kenobi dropping on May 25th, which is wrong. You know, we were speculating May the 4th. I figured, why not? It's right there. It's a Wednesday, and May the 4th would have been perfect. But somehow in marketing, they dropped the ball on that one. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's because Moon Knight is still going to be on. They don't want. Why does Marvel's release schedule have to interfere with Star Wars' release schedule and vice versa? That to me seems really limiting.
It's assuming a lot, isn't it? It assumes a lot.
Well, yes. Keep your Marvel out of my Star Wars. Oh, keep your Star Wars out of my Marvel. It's like those old Reese's peanut butter cup commercials. You got your chocolate, my peanut butter. Well, that's sort of how I feel as a Star Wars fan who is very casual about my Marvel fandom, and I just don't understand why this major studio that has a streaming service that is begging for content, why they would.
Oh, dude, you know somebody comes in and he's like, sir, our analytics show that approximately 14% of our view, and
14.6.
Yes, maybe they think that with Oscar Isaac, the Star Wars fans, they love their Oscar Isaac. He was that guy. That pilot
here's
guy.
a news flash. A lot of people are capable of watching 2 television shows in the same day. So I don't see how.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy talk.
But the 25th is also a Wednesday, so the Wednesday theory still holds water. That's for sure.
And for most people, that's the real Star Wars Day. But that's not the marketing event that May the 4th has become, where everyone's on board with it.
Right.
News outlets aren't all on board with the anniversary date of the 25th. They just aren't. They love the punny nature of May the 4th be with you. They love it.
Hey, speaking of Star Wars marketing events, they did that Fan First Wednesday.
Yes,
and they announced it's some things, and I know what a lot of you are thinking. They're thinking, now who would be dumb enough to spend $230 on a Jabba throne room set?
Yeah,
come on, Mac, get your hand up. My hand's up. Come on, get your.
Of course.
What has two thumbs and just spent out that money? No, it was irresistible. It was irresistible. And you know what? We got to put our money where our mouth is, too, because we're always talking about Hasbro should do more play sets and Hasbro should do more of that stuff. And even if it's $230, we're going to get it.
Well, for me, I had to pay Illinois state sales tax on top of all that. I had told people when they first announced the play set, I said, okay, I could go up to $250 for this thing. Well, after sales tax and shipping, it came out to $251. So I went over my budget by $1 for this thing. But it's great just to know it's coming, not till September 2023. But at least we didn't have to put the money down on it today. They just needed our credit card number, and we'll get billed when the thing's ready to ship. So that takes a little of the sting out of it, at least for me. And it looks like a fabulous play set. There's no way I could turn my back on this one. This is something I've honestly dreamed of having ever since I was a kid. There's already a wall from Jabba's throne room that's been available to collectors where you can hang your Han Solo and Carbonite. And it'll connect perfectly with this thing, this beautiful throne room set.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there've been some forensics going online with this where they've pretty much shown that if you've got that old Jabba the Hutt play set that came out in like 2010, really great Jabba, or they got the Jabba that might have come with your sail barge, that he's highly compatible with this. So it can serve, I think, dual purposes. You can have it set up with, Fat Fortuna, like Book of Boba Fett, or you can do ROTJ style with the real crime boss, Jabba
or
the Hutt.
Jabba Glab, or my favorite from episode 1, Jabba Glab.
We went through a phase with that in our house where the kids were really into slime, and I'm like, I think I have a Jabba Glob, and I was so precious about not taking things off card, but I was like, we got to play with this, and so we went through a fun
we
Jabba
shot
Club.
A video of it.
Oh, that's right,
it's on our YouTube channel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just look it up.
Complete with your kids in the background going, ew.
Oh, it's great. All right. Well, I'm a little empty here, so we should go into the cantina.
Let's do it.
Talk to our buddy Kyle Newman. Let's go.
Star Wars Cantina.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink.
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
All right. Well, we just couldn't let the season finale of a Star Wars show come and go without checking in with our dear friend, Kyle Newman. Kyle, welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. I say welcome back, but we do have a, oh, look at that. Represent. Who are they?
Represent.
Lucasfilm t-shirt.
Yeah.
We got the Lucasfilm underpants on.
Yeah. He's got
Like in Fanboys, the Lucas trash bags.
Lucasfilm tattooed on his right cheek.
We put a couple things from this season in the Lucas trash bag.
Well, all right. So we just did our big wrap up Book of Boba Fett after show last night. We took a lot of calls. There were a lot of chats going on. Overall, I think the sentiment on this series and the finale was pretty positive. There were some nitpicks, but I know you had a lot of thoughts kind of going around about this series in general, and I haven't really had a chance to talk to you much at all or heard what you had to say about the series finale. But for Rebel Force Radio listeners, how is the journey? How has the Book of Boba Fett been for you?
I'm going to stand where I started when they announced it. That's still a terrible title.
You can't
Absolutely
get past the title.
I just can't. The podcast of Padme that's coming up next year.
Sure.
What else is coming up? The media book of Mace Windu.
Somebody said the pamphlet of Pelimoto. That was a good idea.
A subpar title, and I think a little bit of a Frankenstein structure to the whole show. It just didn't have a balance. I loved when they settled into flashbacks in episodes 5 and 6. I think that's how you treat flashbacks. You treat them poetically, and they're far more powerful than just sitting in them for 20 minutes. It just felt a little disjointed. Doesn't mean there's certain parts I didn't love, and overall I didn't think it was a positive launch for this, but I felt like things could have been more efficiently told. I think when you tell a story, you want to find the narrative. You say, what is our story? Then you say, what is the POV into that story? Then you say, what is the emotion behind that? And then you want to talk about how you do that to create themes. Then you get into all the stuff like costume and sound and how you photograph it. But you have to figure out that story first. And you have to figure out your point of view on that story. And I think that's where it had a breakdown.
All right, we saw a number of stories emerge, and this was one of the points I was making on the after show was that individually I loved all the elements. I loved the Sand People stuff. I loved the Crime Lord stuff. Of course, I loved the Mando and Baby Yoda stuff. But all together in one dish, I wasn't so wild about. So if you were the one that was putting this thing together, which of those three elements or major plot points, you've got Boba, Sarlacc pit, and living with the Sand People, you've got Boba really the Crime Lord, and then you've got the tie-in with the Mandoverse. Which of those three would you have focused on?
The Mandoverse is the third tier. Primary tier is your present day, and your flashbacks should activate things that you're discovering in your present day storyline. You always have to service the present. It wasn't a 50-50, half present, half past. I know some of it was, but you can't really tell a story successfully that way. What you needed to do with the show was have conflict between Boba and Fennec. And there's a little bit of pressing on her part, like, that's not how you do business, or life would be easier if you just kick people's butt. But it wasn't an actual character conflict between the two. There was nothing that, like, you can still be on the same team if that's your core team, but they have to rub each other a certain way or activate things in each other or complement each other in a way where one is deficient and one gets enlightened or learns from the other. And that has to play out over the course of a season. So I didn't really feel like there was anything to discover between the two other than, he picked her up when he saw a flare go off and took her to a mod shop she doesn't even deal with the repercussions of suddenly becoming cybernetically enhanced. It's like, oh, I just had bacon for breakfast. It didn't, there was no, it just, it didn't change her in any way. What are the repercussions of becoming?
No, and there's actually a moment in the show where she looks at him and says, "What have you done to me?" And it's like, but then there was that
nothing else.
Nothing else.
And I don't mean to rag on it, but like one of the strangest things was you have like this famed assassin turning to the most famous bounty hunter in the galaxy to punctuate an episode to say, there's people you can hire. Yeah, what? Of course, you are the people. Like, it's not even. It wasn't enlightened in terms of writing in that way. You're like, these are obvious things, and I think there's a lot of things going through the motions of what I'm supposed to feel. I'm like, I'm supposed to feel like the mods are now standing up for their town, and they believe in Mos Espa, but we saw them stealing water. And the next thing we saw was them saying, no, we believe in this town. We got to fight for it. So I see the gesture. I see what they're trying to do. Well, I didn't feel anything emotionally.
I think that is a really, I think that is a really key phrase that you said, because as you say it, I go, yeah, that's kind of what I was feeling a lot throughout this series was, I know what they're trying to do. Oh, I see what they're trying to do. Okay. Yes. I think I believe
in where they're going, Jason. I think that if this was figuring out what this is, how do we take one successful show and create a secondary one? And how do we give that the platform for that other show to be its own thing, but also to invigorate it with where we want to inspire people to where this is going to go? We're going to have these spinoffs, and these characters are going to overlap. And that's why episode 5 took this great departure, and everyone was so excited in a way. Like, that's the best episode, because there is this emotional attachment, and there's the emotional quality that works between Mando and Grogu. And that was. If we were to say, what are the points of this show where you felt the most emotional? It's Mando and Grogu. Maybe a little bit with the Tuskens when that happens with him.
I think Luke and Ahsoka. I think there was.
I had issues with Luke and Ahsoka. We can talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I want to hear, because a lot of people, I think, many fans are just bedazzled by the appearance of Luke in this series, but really nothing much happened in that episode when you break it all down is as far as contributing to the big picture story. Even Luke and Ahsoka left me wanting so much more, because you think that Luke would have questions about his father to ask her, and it just seems like there are bigger things to prioritize if you're going to bring Luke and Ahsoka together. But their connection to me seemed very, I don't know, like it was just like a rubber band holding it all together, and there was nothing solid between the two of them in their interactions with each other.
Yeah, I didn't get a firm grasp of how they feel about each other, and that could be explored later. So I wasn't angry about that. I actually thought I was blown away by Luke, the feelings of seeing Luke.
So that wasn't lost on you. You might argue about whether it was super effective, but as a fan, we know what a fan you are. Yes, nostalgia, the technology. Yes.
Yeah, and Star Wars should always be synonymous with breaking boundaries in tech. So I don't think we should be blown away by they did it. Oh my God, because we've been starved of it. We've been starved by mundane VFX, and now we're getting some cool stuff. Now we're saying, okay, we can use technology to blow our minds again, just like OT and PT did. I just had, like, she asked him to, basically R2 says, sit on a bench. We're going to call someone in from another planet to come deal with you. She comes, 18 hours later in hyperspace? Who knows? And then she's there to just collect an item and warn him off something. And then she doesn't really, not much happens between her and Luke. So it just left me questioning what was the nature of their relationship.
Right. I mean, nothing happens that we see.
Comment about his father. I didn't know where that comment came from. So that was a little weird. It felt forced. But the thing for me was Luke's teachings. And I just hope in this, look, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just, I hope that they sees this as an opportunity for Luke to evolve. So we understand Luke as an audience. We understand the sacrifice Luke made and the familial attachment to the Emperor, to his father, and how that helped unlock him. Anakin failed in this, but ultimately that set Anakin up in the long run to succeed, because that relationship, that emotion, that love unlocked him, because he was an inherent believer in that, and that's who he was. Luke teaching Grogu in this way shows that Luke maybe as a character didn't understand what it was in him that unlocked his father, at least not yet. So Luke's adherence to the monastic way of looking at things, or the old way, it didn't feel like Luke had been enlightened by his own experience. Now, maybe that's something that he's going to learn because the stuff with Grogu will come back around. So it's an opportunity for them as writers to explore this. But I felt almost angry in that moment when Luke was teaching him this way. It didn't acknowledge the journey that Luke had previously been on. Now, this has done a far better job than some of the other things that have come out in the recent years in its handling of Luke Skywalker. So I'm going to commend them that. And I trust in Filoni that he's going to do the right thing by this.
It couldn't have been lost on Filoni that he had Luke Skywalker sort of parroting the prequel trilogy Jedi dogma. That couldn't have been lost on Dave. It's just there's no way.
But did it feel short to you guys that like Grogu at the end of season 2, he's at this precipice and he leaves, and then before we get to season 3, he's already back?
Yeah, terrible.
I thought it was going to get drawn off.
There's anything terrible about it all, because I don't think The Mandalorian as a series is going to survive without Grogu. He was so key to that season. And I'd rather see him together with the Mando than with Luke, learning old Jedi.
That's what you want,
training.
and I agree. But that's drama.
Yeah, that's what I want.
You want that to happen. That's Cheers. You want those two to get together, but they don't. There is drama in that, and you could have stretched it a season.
I disagree. I think they could have. I really thought season 3 was going to go back to Mandalore, that it was going to follow the Darksaber. It was going to follow that whole storyline, and that maybe by the end of season 3, we might see, a Grogu, or that there would maybe be by the end some hope that he would come back in season 4. I think the character can stand on its own. I think that Grogu was a great way to endear the audience to Mando and show that sensitive side, people just melt whenever a tough guy, can show that kind of compassion towards a child. I mean, it's a very human thing. But Kyle, again, what you were talking about and Jim, you too, with Ahsoka and Luke, and I had the same feeling that you both were describing about Ahsoka and Luke, and how it was kind of, shoehorned in maybe and not given enough time, enough room. That's sort of how I felt about, Grogu's choice, and that whole resolution was like, why are they taking 10 minutes out of Book of Boba Fett to tell this? Like, it should be its own episode in a season of Mandalorian, or across a span a couple of episodes. And that's where this thing sort of fell apart for me, is rather than just telling the Book of Boba Fett, which they could have easily done, all of a sudden these other elements start coming into play, and I think it sort of robs us of those being explored in greater depth.
I felt light to me. Like, I know just information I've heard, like Rodriguez's episode, was it episode 3? Was a little short on length, so they pulled some stuff from 4. I mean, that happens in a show, some of the Rancor stuff. There's restructuring, I didn't think there was a consistency in directing aesthetics either. And I think you have that room, that breadth to do that when you're in a television show. You bring in these different voices that are going to suit it well. Bryce's episode was fantastic. Overall, Filoni's was really fantastic. I liked episodes, I think it was 2 and 4 a lot. I think some of the pacing of the action and the other, there's a little geriatric, especially when you compare it to, like, say, the train sequence versus the mods. And I like the mods. I have no issue with them. I think cybernetics is a big part of it. You think of characters like Lobot. I mean, they're iconic.
Yeah.
I don't understand why people are complaining about cybernetics. Darth Vader, General Grievous. Sit down.
Skywalker.
Sit down. Learn about Star Wars, fans.
Right.
It's part of it. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. That guy's got a robot hand.
Right.
So I was baffled by some of those comments. I think in terms of, one guy dressed like he was, trying to audition for Ravenclaw. But other than that, I thought it was fine. I liked this Sophie Thatcher's character, Drash, and I liked the other guy with the Inspector Gadget gear. But I thought, and I like mopeds, Quadrophenia. I'm a huge mod fanatic. Best music on earth. So fine by me. But in terms of how it was cinematically handled, I thought it was strange to crash through a Ralph McQuarrie painting. That was unforgivable. It's like you gotta redeem yourself for doing that.
Hey,
that
buddy.
was like, why don't you invent a fifth wall and break that too? That was hard to stomach. That episode was a lot. But the Rancor, freaking cool.
Yeah,
and I watch this show every morning, every Wednesday morning, bright and early. Cynthia and I watch this together before it gets spoiled by
everyone,
Twitter.
By Paul Bateman.
Instagram. Yeah, Paul Bateman. Yeah,
Paul's emails.
Wow.
Yeah, right. No. Paul learned his lesson after the first, but no, Paul's been great. But
Kyle, I have a question about the Rancor. You mentioned that you heard that was moved from episode 4 into episode 3. Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Was it shot for episode 4 and moved into episode 3?
Yeah, I think a different director shot that scene. The episode 4 director heard shot.
See,
that. But that happens a lot, and maybe it's just a production schedule.
Why was Danny Trejo in that episode? Wouldn't you think he would be in an episode that was directed by Robert Rodriguez?
I think just the bit where he comes down to see him, and he meets the Rancor in person, and they take the eye patch off. That not coming to the gate, I think it might have been that second scene to space out the Rancor stuff over multiple episodes, so it doesn't. The episode where he then grabs the thing, I believe. I mean, that's what I was told.
Now,
I don't know.
With Boba Fett, we talk a lot about all of the Rancor, the mods, Fennec, Grogu, all these things, and I find that we don't spend a whole lot of time talking about the central character of Boba Fett. I have some
King Conan.
I have some reason. I have some thoughts as to why, but I want to preface it by saying that Tem Morrison has a ton of charisma. He eats up the screen. I think that he comes across as very, very likable, and I almost feel guilty about being critical. But I have to separate, Tem Morrison and that character that he's playing and Boba Fett. And I do think that I had a real hard time by the end of this really merging the two. I saw what Tem Morrison was doing on screen, but it didn't feel like Boba Fett to me. I mean, you had a good point earlier when you're talking about there was no friction with Fennec, and it's like, how could you have friction with this guy? He's super nice. He's like the nicest guy in the galaxy.
Yeah, you didn't have to psychologically unlock him. He was at face value. Fennec, I don't know, do they write this in every episode? Fennec puts her feet on the table and eats fruit. Is that literally like in the screen direction? But like, I was like, stop putting your feet on the table, please. Can you guys like actually have like a conversation as humans other than just delivering informational dialogue? I was craving that. The one episode where they have a little campfire and they get into stuff started to go in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
I started to feel something there. And look, I could look at Star Wars all day. I could talk about Star Wars all day. I love it. I'm not going away. I'm going to watch every episode, every minute. I'm watching it again the next day. I want it to be as good as it can be. I want to feel something emotionally. That's what you should do. I mean, you look at those twin suns. What do you feel? You don't go, oh, that was a cool effect. I'm glad I got to see Tatooine. No, you felt something.
Right.
Make me feel something. And if you're not making me feel something, what is your POV on the material? And phone thief just came. That's key for me. So you check the, like I said, what is the narrative? What is going on in the character arc? What's your POV on it? What's the emotion? What are your themes? And how do you bring that out of it visually and sound? And I felt like some of them was just going through the emotions. And Jimmy, we talked about budget a little bit offline, and I felt like budgets were used better in Mandalorian, and I don't know what their budgets were comparatively, but I feel like there was more of an inventiveness to it. Just how things were shot and stories were told, and this show is catching on the windfall of a series that came before it and beta tested all the tech and discovered how you actually tell a story in this medium. So it wasn't like they had to spend all that money on. Excuse me.
We're being invaded. Somebody wants Dad's cell phone.
Okay. Here we go. What do you say?
Thank you.
He's got it. He's got it.
And that's all I was craving more of that. So, but look, it's not, I'm not saying this is like other recent misfires in the Star Wars universe. There's some great mixed in with a couple of things that I have gripes about.
Well, I'll always be grateful to this show for taking us back to Jabba's palace. You know, as a kid that saw that in the theater back in '83 at a very impressionable age, that I loved that. Every time they were in Jabba's palace, I just kept looking around. I love when they are able to faithfully reproduce, you know, some of those iconic
See more of Jabba's
sceneries.
palace.
Yeah.
I love seeing more of it, seeing
Right.
different areas of it. That was great. Of course,
Yeah.
that stuff awakens something in you, and you want that, and you're thankful for it. You're thankful you got this opportunity to do it. But like, I wanted to go back to the Sarlacc, but I didn't understand why we went back to the Sarlacc. The guy crawled out of the ground. He punched his way out of 100 million meters of tons of cubic sand, and then he forgot that he got out. Like, and then he looks back in there. It's like I made it home from the grocery store. I drove home, but then I'm gonna go back to the grocery store to look for my keys. Well, you just made it home. Like, I don't understand what his thought process was.
Yeah.
He was down there for 10 hours, 18 hours maybe. He has a breathing
Right.
issue.
Yeah, there would have, you know, you think that there
doesn't make sense.
There might have been a way. There might have been a way just to show how disoriented he was. I mean, there could have been something done to sort of tip us off that he was not going to remember this.
You just keep his eyes closed. The Jawas take it off, and he doesn't wake up.
There you go.
But instead, they chose to wake him up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was conscious. So then either you reshoot it or you cut that part. I don't know. It didn't, but I love the scene.
Yeah.
So that's my disconnect here. I love the scene.
Right.
It was handled so well, it was directed really well, but I didn't understand the logic behind him going back there. And I don't want to have to say as an audience member, he was disoriented. Yeah, it was the Sarlacc ooze that got in his way. That's not my job.
Yeah.
To retcon that for them, you know? and I don't know why he was so angry at Bib Fortuna. They never explained that.
Right. That gnaws
Did I
at
miss
me
something
as
here?
far as,
And could they please remove that
of
Major Domo's aide or that guy from
oh, I don't know. He grew on me.
the guy lives 10 minutes away from Bib Fortuna, the most famous Twi'lek in Star Wars history, who had sharp razor
Yeah,
teeth.
but he went to college on Coruscant, so that's
that makes him any better than everyone.
It felt like a Saturday Night Live skit character stuffed into Mad TV and spoof Star Wars. And I don't want to see that. The guy's a great actor. That's what I don't understand. It's like, you have a great actor. Why are you going that direction with him? It's just strange tonal choices that veer into broad television gimmickry. I don't.
How would you? Let me just ask you just a logistical question, because if you're directing that, Kyle, right, and that actor comes out and you say action, and he starts delivering those lines in that style, how do you pull him back? How do you say whoa? I mean, without giving him a guy like that line reading, it's like, what do you do?
He would never have gotten to the set without having previously watched other iterations of Twi'lek characters.
You'd have given him homework.
That's my one big gripe with all three seasons of the stuff we've seen, is that some of the aliens just speak very colloquially Midwestern and very ordinary. And an exoticness has been removed as they homogenize this for a more standardized, I don't know if television delivery, but it's lost some of its exoticness. And then when you do see it, you're like, thank God it's back. Or there's a gruffness or a strange inflection in a character's voice. Then you're like, it rewards their choice to do that, like, for the audience. But I don't. Sometimes I'm just mystified that there's such a casualness to the way aliens.
Yes, we had somebody mention that it's sort of a glib delivery, and I think that's a good word. Yeah.
But so much gets said, and I've said it too, that the Major Domo lacked that exotic quality that Twi'leks have, and I've heard fans complain about him, Jason, you, and lots of fans, but I don't hear Madame Garza getting the same sort of criticism.
Both of them.
When she's another Twi'lek who acted like very much with 2 feet on planet Earth to me.
I think all aliens, there should be a little bit of their culture coming through. So
yeah, you're talking about the Jennifer Beals character. You know what I think it was
again,
for me? I think it was the Caucasian fleshiness of her. Truly, like it just wasn't as obvious to me. Like I almost forgot that she was even a Twi'lek. I don't think that's a good thing either.
Same thing,
but I did sort of forget her.
Same thing with David Pasquazi's character. He was also very Caucasian,
very fleshy.
Now, in animation, we've seen Hera. And she also exhibits very earthly vibes and doesn't have any of that exotic quality that
I think because both of her parents,
any of them had.
Well, both of her parents were embroiled in a galactic conflict, dealing with a lot of off-worlders, and that became part of her story. She was like forced to go into the world and be around all those people. I mean, if that's going to be this character's backstory, cool, but that was explored with her, and I understood that. But I think for the most part,
the Major Domo went to school on Coruscant. I think that kind of explains maybe his vibe.
I'll give them the Major Domo. They can keep them.
So I guess, Kyle, something that you and I, no, because I mean, Jimmy's been very consistent on this across the board. I think that you and I need to just maybe come to the realization that Bib Fortuna was the outlier as opposed to being the the constant or maybe Bib's the weirdo.
For the most part, Star Wars aliens have an exoticness to them, and even if they do speak the basic, there's a slight tinge of something in it. We started to see that break down more with character like that Mithril guy, and who just couldn't find a bathroom. He's like, "What do you say? Let me take a leak." That was like, what is happening? Like, there's a couple things like that where I was just like, please to make this be a one-off. And now I'm seeing it like, oh, there's a real casualness to the way aliens are speaking now. And
listen,
they're all aliens, but it's like, what planet are you from?
When Mithril said he was molting, I found that to be very exotic.
Like Cad Bane has a great accent. You know what I mean? He's just something.
Oh, dude, that to me is one of the highlights of this series. I thought that. Bringing him to life, I thought visually he looked incredible, and of course, Corey Burton being, having the voice again. I thought it was wonderful. I'm bummed that they got rid of him. There's all kinds of theories online. Oh, he's not dead. He's not dead. I don't know. He got a gaffy stick right through his gut.
Fennec was shot through the gut. They're just gonna put the cybernetics on him and prance him back out in season 3 of Book of Boba Fett.
That's probably very true. And also, remember, he is hooked up to some life support device. And people noted that the life support device was still operational as he was laying there. And there was some sort of buzzing sound going.
You're right. There was, Jim, there was like a beep. There was like a beeping of the life. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Yeah. It's possible.
A lot of people are hoping that he survived.
I hope so. Great character.
I thought the death was fitting at Boba's hands. It was one moment in the series when Boba Fett was a true badass. When he has that gaffy stick, that's when he reaches into his can of ass whooping, and we saw it twice in the series at least. With Cad, and then of course at Anchorhead. And I thought those were two really good Boba Fett moments that happened in the show, and. I don't know if you followed us on the after show last night, but this our rhythm of talking kind of made me feel like Boba Fett himself said he doesn't think he's really cut out to be the daimyo. He said that toward the end of the episode, and I was thinking, well, what if they revitalize Cobb Vanth? And Boba turns his armor over to Cobb and says, "You are now the Marshal of Mos Espa. You're the daimyo now. And you're going to be in charge of everything." That could be another way the character evolves. What do you think about something like that?
That's nice. There's room to grow that way. I think the growth of Boba Fett is probably not going to come from being firmly planted on Tatooine if they continue this for multiple seasons. So maybe he takes the armor with him, but he puts Cobb there. But that obviously they put that at the end of the episode. It makes you think, and he's worthy of it. So, he's passionate about upholding what Boba fought for, which was breaking down the spice trade. And I know that was like something we're supposed to feel but I wanted to feel that all these characters are so passionate about protecting Mos Espa. That's where I felt like it was going through the motions of it. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like I didn't feel that this was his home, that it was like, I've got to draw a line here and make this, we got to protect this from Spice. I didn't feel the danger of Spice. I didn't understand the turn on the mods, why they suddenly cared. When they maybe had
Jim, you had a theory about Boba and the spice, and you were drawing on a line of dialogue.
Yeah, it was in The Mandalorian season 2 during the tragedy when he's chasing down the Imperials, the Dark Troopers after they flew away with Baby Yoda, and as he's flying after them in the Slave One, the Star Destroyer comes into sight, and he says, "Oh my God, they're back! The Empire's back." He says, "This is no spice dream," which made me think that Boba was actually abusing the drug for a period of time. But then somebody reminded me, well, he did go on that vision quest, that was spice influenced and lizard influenced, I might add.
Yeah,
but maybe that's the problem. Maybe people aren't consuming people aren't consuming their spice with the proper amount of lizards up their nose. So maybe that's where people are going wrong, And so that's what I was thinking. Maybe he had some spice addiction. He was dancing with the devil, and it consumed him in such a way. That was my initial thought after seeing that episode of The Mandalorian. So that's why I thought he had such a bias toward it and why he wanted to stop.
But it did, there are a lot of questions, and I think that one of the biggest ones was why? Why Tatooine? Why Jabba's empire? Why why wanting to be the crime lord? None of that was ever really answered, other than he did say in the one episode he talked about how he was sick and tired of being the hired gun and being hired by people that weren't as smart as he is. I think he explains that all to Fennec. Why continue to work for these people that are just going to end up getting us killed? So there was that, but
Cad Bane even said, he goes, "I've known you for a long time, and I don't know what your angle is."
Yeah,
what is
speaking for the audience?
I thought was going is Boba was going to learn this. He's a drifter. He's constantly on the run. He's taking jobs for things. He lives out of his ship, and he finally understands home after this, after being forced to be humbled and rebuild himself, and the importance of home and his kind of questioning of Mandalorian traditions. I thought by the end of it, his interactions, if handled right, would yield a character who then would say, that would then join Mando to go back to Mandalore to pursue this stuff with the Darksaber. Like there's an honor and protect. You help me protect my home. I'm going to go to do something with your home. That character that had grown in a certain way because of these ideas and themes of home would be ready to go on a sojourn like that. That's what I was hoping.
And that could still happen.
In a place like that. It could, but it should have happened at the end of season 1.
Right.
That's the culmination of the character growth, saying you came to help me. You did it on honor as opposed to for money. This is the way. They have this thing. I thought it was going to end up. Then he was going to go, I got to go deal with this thing. Let's do this, and let you know that, okay, he's actually translated his character growth into a character choice. But it could still come, Instead, we got them standing at a spaceport sipping boba drinks. I don't know. They're just standing around. I was like, oh, okay. I guess there's more of it.
And this also could be a bit of a if this is the sophomore slump of the Disney Plus, Star Wars live action series, I can live with that because it was still, we were saying, a bad episode of a Star Wars TV show is better than a great episode of most other things. I mean, and that I've been consuming a lot more television, in this world of streaming than I probably ever have, at least, episodic binging, TV and stuff like that. And this kept me and my whole family coming back every week. Now, obviously, I have to be here. I'm doing a podcast, but 13-year-old daughter, 45-year-old wife, 9-year-old son. They all wanted to be there every week. Sounds like you also had others watching it with you every week as well.
Yeah, we would. Cynthia and I, who's sitting right next to me
Cynthia's
here.
joining us. Kyle's better half here. Cynthia, this is your first time on Rebel Force Radio. Congratulations, I think.
Definitely congratulations. I'm really excited to be here. I've been listening to Kyle talk, so I'm like ready to get into this.
I hope that you disagree with everything he said, and now you're going to set us all straight.
Well, I'm not as harsh about the show as Kyle is, I guess, but he's really passionate.
Not harsh.
He's really, really passionate. I think the biggest thing for me was I wanted to know who Boba Fett was, and I didn't know, was he this man reborn through this experience with the Tuscans, or was he, this bloodthirsty bounty hunter now turned into someone soft, or is he going to lead these people now? Like, I don't know who he was, and I think that there were so many unnecessary like detours from the reality of who Boba was that my favorite episode ended up being the one that Grogu was in, which I don't like.
Wait a minute. You don't like Grogu?
No, I just wanted my favorite episode to be.
Oh, you don't like the
Boba.
fact. I see. You don't like the fact. Sin, I don't think you're unique. I think there's a lot of people that say, well, episodes 5 and 6 were my favorite, and they had the least to do with Boba Fett, and therein lies the problem. I think you're dead on with a lot of fans.
They're chapters, guys. They're
Chapters.
Like books. That's how I look at it. It's okay in a chapter of a book to deviate from your main character. I guess that's why it's the book of Boba Fett.
I wouldn't say that like the average person has, not the average person, but of someone who doesn't work like you do as a director. Like, you can make that excuse for this because you understand their chapters, but like everybody else is like, this is just a streaming thing and I'm pressing play and I didn't want it to be so complicated. I don't know.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that, Sin. We hear from all types of fans, and I, anecdotally, I have friends that call me that are not podcast listeners, but they grew up with the movies. They love the characters. And, they're calling me like, okay, now who was this and why was that? And it happens.
Yeah.
It's like me watching a Marvel movie.
Exactly. Like, I don't know what
I'm not as invested.
Yeah, no. But I will say one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character, was, what is it? Pelimoto? Is that her name?
Yeah, Amy Sedaris' character, yeah.
Yeah, I actually love that character. I think that there's got to be like one, the Gungan.
Jar Jar?
There's got to be one Jar Jar vibe happening throughout each.
She's the character where they kind of go out on a limb with. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they tried to do that
Comic
with
relief.
What are you calling him, Major Domo?
The Major Domo. You get one, you don't get both.
Well,
and you don't get them both in the same scene.
I agree.
Yes.
Actually,
that's
that's
too much.
the moment when I started liking that guy, was when he was with her.
Because she's so likable.
Maybe that's true. But I do think that the balance overall, like, I didn't know, like, is this like another military-based series? Are we learning? Is this a coming of age through this Tuscan spirituality story?
Mm-hmm.
Now Grogu's back, and I thought, wouldn't it have been so great if the Mandalorian handed Grogu the dark saber? But I guess it can't work that way because he has to like win it in battle, right? But I just thought, now we have this, Jedi in training without a lightsaber. And we have this person who isn't really, too great at wielding his saber.
You could get a little weapon, but I hope that experience humbles Luke as a teacher, to say, wow, okay, I didn't expect it to go that way. This is going to be harder than I thought. So there's room for them to modify the presentation.
Yeah. I can't believe it, though. I don't want to believe that they've given up on the opportunity to give Grogu a lightsaber. Like, no way.
He'll get it.
They have to.
I hope what happens is what Kyle, you were talking about earlier. I hope that there is an awakening in Luke, and that it's not the end. I mean, in our perfect world, Grogu is raised by Mando, but goes to school with Luke Skywalker. I know that sounds silly, but yeah.
Look, we dipped our toe into Luke and the Force in the bigger picture, and the temple he's creating, which looks like it's a different planet than the one from the other movies. Now we know we can go there. He's going to make some character choices. He made one, which was chose attachment, something similar to Anakin and Luke. And Luke, I'm sure they're going to cross paths again. He's going to realize, maybe it'll make Luke realize that was not necessarily a wrong choice in the new direction of Jedi. And it's going to inform the way he becomes a master and a teacher. So you can use this as an opportunity to enrich the characters as opposed to just being a mistake. Because right now it stands as a mistake, in my opinion, in terms of it just felt like a lack of reverence for the. I would have thought 5 years on, Luke would have learned a lesson.
You're calling that a mistake already.
Not a mistake. Not a mistake. Mistake is wrong. I just think it's in. Luke is starting this thing, and he's going to do it. He's very conscious of the failures of what came before, and I thought he was self-reflective enough to understand why he and his father were ultimately victorious over the Empire and the dark side. I assumed, maybe from all the EU I've read, that he was in an enlightened enough position of himself internally, spiritually, metaphysically, to say, I know what the shortcomings were, and I'm moving forward. The Jedi are going to be under a different name. I'm going to do things differently. Instead, very dogmatic, monastic in the same approach. And down to even espousing exact Yoda verbiage back. That's where I think Luke still has room to grow. So that's good.
Yes.
He's not fully formed. Let's see him grow. But if they never make him grow, then I question it. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that. I just thought Luke, maybe 5 years on, would have been a little more self-aware.
What do you think the potential is for a full series featuring Luke building the academy and carrying on with his story via these deep fake CGI enhancements, the de-aging?
It's probably expensive, but it's going to get easier. I think obviously the room is there for it to happen.
I would be surprised.
But you know what? There could be something where I think we're going to see more Luke. Guaranteed.
Well, I think, unfortunately, they're not like Disney. They'll be like, what makes this a sure thing? Okay, it's Luke Skywalker, Grogu, and the Mandalorian. So and if they get these universes in a way where they're all
if there's
Luke, they're going to pop up just so we have something to talk about on Twitter.
Young
which
Han,
is great because I want that.
There's young Princess Leia. If there's young Luke, they're all just Luke's one comlink call away from them, right?
I would be shocked that if they had those characters, huge parts within a series, because the way that it just doesn't look.
It will let people down.
Every time I watch them, I feel a little bit insecure. I'm like, this face isn't working the way I want it to work, but I'm glad to see Luke.
Well, the fascinating thing about that, though, is it just goes to what it is to be human and our ability to perceive the near imperceptible in a human face. I mean, it's actually I wish I could find the article. There was an article about this that I read, and they were talking to evolutionary biologists about this technology and how, yes, it's getting better, but it's got to work really hard because we have evolved over, thousands and thousands of years to perceive the slightest little curl of the lip, and we as human beings, we don't even realize what that is. So it's cool, but they've got a tall order. I don't know that even I as a fan necessarily want to see a Luke Skywalker series. I like the idea of him popping in and out. I like visiting him through the eyes of some of these other characters. Cynthia pointed out something that a lot of people, including myself, were conjecturing last night on the after show, which is it almost feels as though they had the scripts all written for the Book of Boba Fett. They turn them into the top brass and they flip and they say, this sounds great. This is great. We love this. But I mean, come on, where's Baby Yoda? Where's the Mandalorian? And they're like, that's not really the story we're telling.
I mean, I don't know if those guys are in that place where they have to prove themselves anymore. Like these guys brought Baby Yoda to life. They might not have like such a hard line to meet or whatever when they turn.
It's possible.
But Favreau has clout.
Just my own speculation. I mean, maybe Favreau was like spread really, really thin, and that's what it felt like. Like there was just so much to plan, and like it's so many cooks in the kitchen. That's what it felt like, right? Like someone wanted to talk about the Tuskens, and then
it felt like the scripts were done, but they needed one more. It's hard to say. I just feel like get one more pass on those scripts. You know what I mean? You could find ways to tighten them, get rid of unnecessary thoughts, turn things into gestures as opposed to hacky lines of dialogue. There's a couple of things you're just like, why are they saying this? Even, Temuera Morrison himself said, why am I saying so much? I mean, he said this in the press.
So much.
I think there's a lot of things that, unfortunately, Fennec Shand has to say, which are like for the lowest common denominator audience member. Well, she's just got to deliver all this like reminders.
I was thinking, as I was having these criticisms or whatever, I was like, who was the goal audience here? Because if they are if it is children, which maybe it's a little too violent for kids, I don't know, but if it is children, maybe you do have to reiterate that there are people you can hire for that. You know what I mean? Because if they're trying to bring in and cater to a new generation,
if you have to remind Boba Fett, the most famous gun for hire, that there's people you can hire, you are doing something wrong. I don't know what to tell you. He's the most famous bounty hunter in the history of movies.
Well, I don't know.
And you're telling him there's people you can hire to do stuff?
You know what?
I think it was just setting up the next episode. I think you might be.
There are so many better ways to set up
you're looking into this
episode,
a little
Jimmy.
too much.
There's so many better ways to set up an episode. You don't say that line. You do it visually. You do something clever. That's what I mean. You spend 10 more hours on those scripts, and suddenly they purr. They're gonna purr. They come to life visually, and you're not leaning into stuff.
Well, I appreciate hearing what you say, Kyle, because you are a professional filmmaker and a director, as opposed to all the normal Joes online who are convinced they can write, edit, and direct this whole thing 1,000 times better. I find that kind of communication to be really tiresome. I've seen enough of it online to make me want to puke. But it is interesting to hear your take on it.
Yeah. Because if you make that choice, I know we're going to bring it around a story, but like if you make that choice, what you're doing is it's a disservice to the character. Like, is that a conversation that these two characters would really have? Did they really think 5 people were going to be enough muscle to hold off the Pikes? I mean, some of these things are just like, really? Like he makes the choice at the end of an episode to just be passive with the 3 other families. Of course they're going to come and backstab you. So you already know what's going to happen. So like there's the gestures of that. I wasn't surprised because I didn't feel like he had it. It was already tenuous. It was like, was that the best position to lead?
But Kyle, the guy said, I abide. I mean, what more do you need? What kind of a commitment from a Barada are you looking for?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know not that they needed the commitment. Maybe it shouldn't have ended. The scene shouldn't have ended that way. Maybe been more tenuous. I just felt like it's almost there. That's what's frustrating. It's almost there.
Well, they're gonna continue to learn, and I still I think that they, in some ways, they advanced beyond Mando. I mean, certainly the boldness of the use of Luke Skywalker was a huge step forward. I really think, and
totally,
it was bold to introduce him in Mando, but even bolder to just walk around and hear him talk more and pontificate and. And then you throw in Ahsoka in there, and I like to think that there were conversations happening. What's that?
I think Ahsoka's going to come back.
They really gave it to us.
They did.
They like, here are all of your favorites. They could have just given us Luke. They could have just given us Baby Yoda.
Right. No, that's where I respect Dave. It's a slow burn. He's reinvigorating and introducing to the wider audience a lot of these wonderful characters he's had such a, instrumental hand in creating, from Ahsoka to Cad Bane and beyond. It's Dave imparting all the things he's learned from Star Wars animation and his basically unprecedented time with George, learning from the master firsthand. You fully trust Dave. I felt like this show also felt like maybe there was some extra, you introduced Rodriguez as now exec producer, and maybe it was his idea to do this, and he said, let's just do it together, and they're kind of respecting some of Rodriguez's creative choices. So who knows what the power dynamic is, but who knows what it is. But I think what's happening is it's gonna be part of the expansion of the Filoniverse.
Before we let you guys go, I want to let's take a minute and talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We saw the poster art was revealed. We know that it's going to premiere on May 25th. So having lived through now 2 live action Star Wars series with The Mandalorian, 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, a season of Book of Boba Fett, what are your hopes and what are your fears when it comes to Kenobi?
Well, hopes and fears. Hopes are that they don't do things just to keep Star Wars stories going that break the old mythology. I'm worried about the introduction of, Darth Vader in flashbacks, cool. Darth Vader in present day, meeting up with Obi-Wan, has ramifications on lines of dialogue from both Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. And character dynamics, maybe there's a way around that. I'm sure there are. So there's certain things that I am concerned about the way it modifies the greater mythology and the lexicon of characters for the sake of just creating new content. Obi-Wan is going to be, I believe it's going to be awesome. I think they took a pause in their screenwriting, rethought some stuff, and that probably only made it better. More time you have writing, better. 3 most important steps of making anything is the first draft, the second draft, the third. You just keep writing drafts.
What's your must-have, Kyle? What must you see in Kenobi? Come on, just as a fan.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon.
Communing with Qui-Gon and Yoda. All right, that has to be a part of it, and you got to have do justice to the Anakin.
Now, are we, when Obi-Wan happens, are we at that point when he's learning how to be immortal? Is he going to be learning that info from Qui-Gon?
I think it's after the Revenge of the Sith stuff. Some 10 years on, maybe, that he's being Qui-Gon imparted them with Yoda with the message from his old master, and him learning to commune, to be one with the Force. There's probably something going on in the background. Him ascending to that level of master. And obviously he has deep failures. Deep feelings of failure over what happened with the Jedi and with Anakin.
I think not only are we going to see Obi-Wan communing with Qui-Gon, I think we're going to see Obi-Wan communing with Yoda as well.
Yes, that has to be there.
Yeah. Sure.
And we'll have flashbacks. I can confirm there will be Clone War era flashbacks featuring Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. So it's not going to be all Hayden as Darth Vader. There's definitely,
and I want to see Anakin and Hayden as part of the Ahsoka series. I think this is a time for them to kind of atone for some of the sequel trilogy choices, their aversion, their fear. It's their fear of actually handling Anakin Skywalker. They told us the third act of Anakin Skywalker's life, but in just by proxy with a helmet, because they were afraid to deal with Anakin. And I don't think Dave's going to be afraid. So I think you'll see that stuff.
Yeah, but how much Filoni is involved in the Kenobi series?
I'm sure Dave imparted a lot of wisdom on the people making Kenobi, and I'm sure Dave has a heavy influence in Ahsoka. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
I think Filoni is the showrunner for the Ahsoka series, but I don't think he's as hands-on with Kenobi outside of offering some notes along the way.
If anybody making a Star Wars show had a brain, they would say, Dave Filoni, can I please sit down with you
Yeah.
and pick your brain about what to do here. Will you read my stuff? And will you tell me what I should be doing? And if you don't, then you probably have too big of an ego to be working in Star Wars. You gotta
his
default
role
to
now,
me.
his role as an executive with Lucasfilm now, I think, puts him in that position firmly to be able to at least contribute thoughts, ideas, inspiration for all streaming series, whether he's directly working on it or not.
That's great. I'm happy for him if that's how far it reaches, because I think he is a tremendous living resource, and he's, these shows are as good as they are and how good they can be because of what he's shown people, what you can do with Star Wars to respect what's come before, build upon it, go in new directions. That's all because of what he did with the Clone Wars and Rebels. And I think that's the template they're going to use moving forward. That's the template for success. And I hope Disney executives do that.
Yes,
Well,
for sure.
Guys, it has been really great to sit and chat with you. Sin, it's really nice to meet you. I know you met Jimmy Mack some time ago, and I've heard a lot of great things about you. And we're so happy for the two of you and your growing family. And we're definitely cheering for you, rooting for you. You got anything? I know you're a very, very talented performer and singer. Do you have anything coming up that you want to tell our Rebel Force Radio listeners about?
Oh, you know what? I'm just working on a record. Oh, yeah, that's me when I have had some hair and makeup. No,
I think you look pretty great both ways.
Thank you. I've been momming all day and early meeting this morning. But no, I mean, I'm working on music and stuff. But in the meantime, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm just so, so grateful that we have new Star Wars content. I think that in the Clone Wars, and a lot of times when we've seen Obi-Wan, he has like a very mystical presence about him. And I think in that first Star Wars movie, didn't Uncle Owen refer to him as an old wizard or something?
Yes. Yeah.
So I really hope that they can be true to that feeling of Obi-Wan, which is not really like this, new form Jedi. He's like very formal. He felt very formal always. And I don't think that the Boba Fett show had a very clear tone. It felt very makeshift, and I wonder, of course, I like the regal, more classic Coruscant, Naboo feel.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that makes sense for the timeline now, but I think that would be so cool if they keep it, because it's going to be what Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Yoda possibly talking. Like they are like.
I just want to see him doing like magic tricks to the kids on the streets of Tatooine, so he kind of develops this persona of this kind of crazy old wizard,
that would be cool to see if he does fall from like a more formal, now he's in the desert, like that process, or how he's living now that he's hiding out and protecting Luke.
It could have been also character assassination on the part of Uncle Owen to keep Luke away from the guy.
Well, that's true too. That's true.
Peered into proximity to say, that guy's
absolutely.
nuts, don't go near him. He touched a cat once,
But I think that that was the first time we ever even heard of him. So whether or not it was character assassination or not, I was just looking at him through this lens of wizard, and I don't know. For me, I think being a wizard is majestic and commendable, and so I didn't take it as character assassination.
He's a wizard, Harry.
Exactly, that's how I hear it.
I think we're gonna get some of that. I think they're probably gonna take him off world since they've been doing so much on Tatooine.
Yeah. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Obi-Wan. I'm so excited. I want to see Ahsoka kicking more butt, because she is just like girl power, and us girls out here in the Star Wars universe, we just want more of that. I do love seeing the men kicking butt, because it did something to me when I saw new Ben, doing his thing.
Oh, are you talking about Ben Solo?
Yeah, so I do like to see the new guys doing their thing. But
Did he send your heart aflutter when he became good there at the very end?
Yes.
Ow.
And then I was like, this whole thing was a love story?
You know what?
I knew it.
Yeah.
I was rooting for those crazy kids. I'll tell you that. I thought, this is going to be
You know
great.
what happened, Jason?
Yeah.
You want to know what happened at the end of that movie?
What's that?
Kylo Ren, Ben, he chose to put his hand on Rey, and he
belly.
didn't put it on her head. He didn't put it on her upper chest to heal her. He transferred his life essence into her abdomen, into her belly. And they should be Rey should have been impregnated by the Force transmission, and they can bring me Skywalkers to the end of days. I think that's a beautiful trend. He died, but somehow through the Force, she.
Dude, that's a new one. I don't think we ever heard that from you.
No one's talked about it.
Yeah,
that's what I think should happen.
I tweeted it once, but I stole it from him.
Oh,
so yeah, you heard it here first on Rebel Force Radio.
Love it.
That's how they can keep this thing going, because Skywalker's where it's at.
Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. But Kyle, how about you? What projects? What's next for you? Where can people?
Well, my new movie is done in a matter of days. One Up. With Lionsgate Studios and BuzzFeed and some other big news I'm going to be sharing probably in the next couple of weeks. That is done and coming this
Congratulations.
summer.
Well, come back and talk. I know we'll talk to you when Kenobi kicks up, but make sure you come back and talk to us about the movie.
For that show.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, guys. Love you all very much, and best to you and all the kiddos there. And
thank you.
We'll be counting down the days until Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bad Batch.
Oh, Bad Batch.
Andor. I'm
right.
excited for all these shows. There's so many good shows coming this year.
Yeah, we got a lot of reasons to get back together. All right.
And a celebration.
Yeah, we'll see you in Anaheim, right?
Anaheim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby.
You be there? All right. Both
It
of
may
you?
be just Kyle, but we'll see.
We're going to try.
All right.
Good.
Well, take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I will teach you how to ride. I will teach you like a panther. Yes, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, stop. Like a panther, 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 like a panther. Find other panthers, make baby panthers. You're free to roam the blue sea. Go, like a panther, like a baby panthers, like a panther, like a panther. Go, like a panther, 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 like a make baby panthers, like a panther. Free to roam the blue sea.
I'll tell you what, that Tem Morrison gets more talented by the day.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That was fun. That was a catchy little tune.
Yeah, rising to the top of the charts is Like a Bantha, the Boba Fett remix by Ocean Dweller. You can see the video on YouTube, and we are tipped off to this by Mike, our far listener Mike, on Twitter. Catchy in a weird way, says Mike. Yeah, I think Tem Morrison gives us the weird factor.
Yeah.
So that's great. Hey, before we get into our next thing, I have a leftover from the Kyle discussion that I wasn't able to bring up. We ran out of time. I forgot about it. Cynthia was there. But we had talked a lot at the beginning before the Book of Boba Fett debuted. We were talking amongst ourselves in our little Jedi Council, which Kyle is a member of, about 4chan rumors about the Book of Boba Fett. And there was a real juicy kind of summary of the entire season that appeared on 4chan, and then it was just taken down. It just disappeared. Well, I found it, and I thought it was humorous to read through. It's a quick read.
I avoided it. Most of the members, I think all the members of the council, with the exception of me, read it. I didn't want to be spoiled, and I know sometimes the temptation is just so great. And I don't know, Jim. I felt like there for a while it was on point, and then did it derail?
Oh, it derailed. It derailed. So here's the big rumor from 4chan that we saw that some of us were convinced that the season was going to to be exactly this. And you will hear there are things that end up being consistent with the Book of Boba Fett season we saw. But a lot of it is really, really way wrong. So here we go. I'm going to read it. Jason, you keep track of the things that were right and the things that were wrong.
All right.
All right. Right out of the gate, we're on a bad start here. Main antagonist is Kira, played by Emilia Clarke.
Loser.
Profit or loser? Loser. Yeah. All right. Now here it gets interesting. An elderly Cad Bane is her right-hand man. Cad Bane is played by one of the Mando stuntmen, but is voiced by Corey Burton. Looks cool in live action. The duo are the big bads of the series. Boba goes around uniting the Mad Max-esque gangs and minor syndicates who are at each other's throats after Jabba's demise. Crimson Dawn, at the same time, are trying to gain a foothold on Tatooine. They view Boba as a threat and send various bounty hunters after him, including Black Krrsantan, the Wookiee. Krrsantan gives Boba a brutal beatdown similar to the Mudhorn battering Din in Season 1 of The Mandalorian. Boba gives it his all, though, and gains Krrsantan's respect. Various other bounty hunters go after Boba, but he defeats them all. Boba, when he visits one of the cities, is approached by a street girl. He views her like himself when he was young and takes her somewhat under his wing as a protege. Yes, I know folks will moan at this, but the actress is really good. She's an important catalyst for later. Now, true, the mods had...
All right, just so you know, the way I'm keeping score...
Yeah.
Is I'm going full profit, full loser, and then I'm given some middle way where there's a half truth in there.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be as honest as I can. Yeah, I'm keeping score. Mm-hmm.
You've been able to keep up. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Moochie from the Bad Batch is in the show. Bib owned her and mistreated her. Boba tames her and uses her as a mount in an episode. Later frees her and lets her go on her own way. Rex and Echo show up in episode 5. Played by Temuera Morrison, too, obviously. He looks awesome. He has his Endor uniform and the Bad Batch cloak poncho thing. Echo looks good, too. His skin tone is mostly normalized, and he has a new hand. Despite their age, they both still got stamina. Rex's reasons for seeking Boba aren't made clear, as they're interpreted by more bounty hunters led by Bosk. Oh, I'm sorry, they're interrupted by more bounty hunters led by Bosk when they meet. Boba and Bosk fight, but Bosk compliments him for his achievements thus far in uniting the underworld, and it's nothing personal. Boba and Rex and Echo and Finnick mop the floor with the bounty hunters. Boba spares Bosk, and Bosk then has a drink with Boba, Shand, and the clones. Rex says he'll be in contact with Boba again once Boba deals with the issues he currently has. Rex and Boba leave. After Boba unites the gangs and various hunters failed to kill him and Shand, Kira finally allows Bane to try at Boba again. Bane scouts the area and notices Boba's affection for the girl mentioned earlier. Boba is starting to view her like a daughter. Bane kidnaps her and contacts Boba, who is shocked Bane is not dead. Bane and Boba duel it out one last time. Boba wins. Cad Bane finally hits the bucket. The girl is okay and comes to live with Boba and Fennec. Boba starts to train her. Kira is still out there, however, and isn't dealt with. She decides to hold off on further advances to Tatooine after Bane's death. Rex once again arrives this time. Echo is not with him. He's with Din. Din tells him they are going to attempt to take back Mandalore, and Din wants Boba by his side. Roll the credits.
Wow. All right.
Boba Fett. All wrong. But some of it is...
Some of it is right. Yeah. I'll tell you what I came up with. So of the core concepts, and I try to keep match with the core concepts. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total misses. Total misses. We had 4 concepts that did show up fully fully formed, and we had 4 that they got sort of halfway right.
Okay.
So it's pretty evenly split. You had 4 definite slam dunks in the series, 4 sort of in the middle, and then 9, just not even close.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
So there's 4chan for you. So it looks like this was steeped in some sort of reality.
Yeah.
But
we are hearing rumors, Jim, of some retooling going on with this series.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I find that so hard to believe because of the limited production schedule they had. COVID slowed everything down for this thing.
Well, I guess it doesn't mean that they were retooling as it was airing. I think that this very well could have been the plot that was originally greenlit, and then they
couldn't get Emilia Clarke. I mean, there's all these things.
All things could have happened.
Some of the Bad Batch inclusions, though, I think are a total stretch, and they were primarily being informed by what was happening in the Bad Batch. And the author of this 4chan post was taking things happening in the Bad Batch as sort of a setup for what we see in the Boba Fett
so maybe some wishful thinking going on.
Yeah. Just based on whatever the latest Star Wars stuff was that was out there. But, I mean, the Mad Mask-esque gangs could refer to the mods to a degree.
Yeah.
The mods would get completely destroyed if they ever entered into the fray in the Mad Max universe. But
there was the character, I can't remember the actress's name, who was in the mods, the girl with the hair Thatcher. And the hair. Yeah, Sophie Thatcher. She very well may have been at one time thought of, or the casting may have gone after somebody that was going to become a sort of a Boba Fett fill-in, quasi daughter figure. That's possible.
Right. Yeah.
I think whenever you see her in the series, I feel like you can't help but think that she was meant for maybe bigger things. My thought.
I thought she would play a much bigger role myself.
I did too.
As a matter of fact, when I first saw her in the trailer, I thought she was Afro.
Yes. Yeah.
But the Kersantin one is good, though. That's a good one. I could have predicted Bane. I could have predicted Tim Morrison riding a Rancor. But the thing about the Crimson Dawn, nowhere to be found.
No. And that would have been, for those that are holding out about, some sort of continuation of the Solo film, maybe finding its way onto Disney Plus, that would have been a natural. If that would have happened, then I think we could most assuredly say that there's going to be, some, continuing of that, but didn't happen.
People are all excited because carrying Crimson Dawn had become a storyline in the current Marvel comics, but I don't think that indicates that they're primed for live action again. I think that Lucasfilm does not have a good taste in their mouth about Solo at all, and they don't want to revisit that. Yeah. It is the only true flop in the history of Star Wars, and the Disney folks for sure definitely don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I hear a lot of talk, make Solo 2 happen and stuff. Probably not in our lifetimes, guys.
No. I don't think so. Speaking of Cad Bane, though, when we talk about animated characters coming into live action, and Jim, I notice a pattern that when we have callers and we have people that bring this up, you tend to kind of gristle a little bit, like when people say, oh, let's get Rebels characters in there. Where's Ezra? Where's Omega? That was a popular one. Omega's going to show up in Book of Boba Fett because she's technically his sister and all of that. And I don't want to speak for you, but it seems like I know that you enjoy those animated series, but there's just a certain threshold of that a character I think has to hit before they become fodder for live action. And I don't think that Ezra and I don't think Omega have made it.
Ahsoka Tano was no overnight success, let me tell you. Not even close. Not even close. And if Lucasfilm listened to all the fan complaining about Ahsoka, she would have never come back, ever. But look at her now. They stuck with the long game. George Lucas had faith in the character, and now she goes down as one of the most popular characters in the history of Star Wars. And the Clone Wars is revered. Me and Swank were the only ones watching that thing for at least the first 4 seasons.
Sure felt like it.
I mean, Star Wars fans are like, oh, those guys, they're like really into the Clone Wars. You know, they would say things like that about us.
Right. Yeah. Right.
As
that
if
was us.
we had something wrong with us because we like the Clone Wars. Now it's just like revered, you know.
Yes.
Oh,
it is.
so
it's hallowed.
much.
It's hallowed ground. But Cad Bane being in the show, live action was amazing, and Dave Filoni has long been a fan of the bounty hunters in Star Wars and understood that their role and their importance and all of that. And you came across a clip from an interview that we did with Dave Filoni some time ago, and it was kind of interesting how he was, talking about Cad Bane and bounty hunters in Star Wars all the way back then, and here we are.
Yeah, and of course he talks about the true Western vibe that these characters embody. And so I thought it was good for a spin. I put it up on YouTube, and I wanted you guys to hear it here on the podcast. So here's Dave Filoni talking to me and Swank. This goes way back to when Cad Bane made his original Clone Wars debut at the end of season 1 of the Clone Wars. And here's Filoni talking to us about Cad Bane and the bounty hunters in Star Wars.
Bounty hunters being involved, to me, is a big deal. I mean, they're, as you mentioned, great characters. They do play a major role. I mean, Cad Bane has a major role. If you ever grew up watching, for a few dollars more, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, what I think Sergio Leone was calling bounty killers at the time. I mean, the opening shot of the long, wide shot and the horseman walking along, and there's a gunshot, and boom, he goes down. And you're just like, wow, if that was a laser gun, and this kind of looks like Tatooine, this would be really awesome Star Wars stuff, Yes. And there's even a publicity still of Boba Fett standing exactly as Clint Eastwood does on the poster to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I've seen a publicity still. It's like they actually stood him the same way. So you immediately got where this bounty hunter type is coming from. And, years later, as I'm working on Clone Wars with George Lucas, when he first brings up a bounty hunter to us, he's mentioning Lee Van Cleef. So you're like, okay, we're back in the spaghetti western world. This is awesome. This is where we want to be. You can see we have quite an array of bounty hunters, and we've tried to get them in the game and utilize their abilities to just see how interesting they can be. And we have different types of bounty hunters. There's not just everyone can't be a Cad Bane. Not every one of them can walk in a place and make everybody's blood run cold. And it's been fun to develop those different types of characters.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, when you bring up Bane, Dave, there was a lot of hype for this character showing up. There's a lot of hype, and then some. You worry when you see this, is it going to be worth the hype? And I got to tell you that Cad Bane was totally worth the hype, and the character just feels like Star Wars to me, and really does bring it back to that whole kind of spaghetti western. And you're right.
Love the voice.
The voice. Everything is just so chilling. It's so it all works.
Hey, this is Dave Filoni of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and you are listening to Rebel Force Radio.
All right. If you want more of the Filoni files, please check out our YouTube page. We've done many hours with Dave Filoni over the years, and especially during that period of the Clone Wars and going into Rebels. So just full of stuff. And Jim, you're always pulling those little nuggets because history repeats itself in some ways. And, as Dave was bringing bounty hunters, I think, was that season 2 where it was Rise of the Bounty Hunters, or was that season 3 or season 2?
Cad made his debut in the final episode of season 1 of the Clone Wars. And then he appeared in the first few episodes of season 2. And those comments from Filoni, they're just as relevant today. I mean, they could have been recorded with us talking about appearance in Boba Fett. And what's great, though, is that he just gleans the insight that he picked up from George Lucas along the way. And that, to me, really adds a lot of legitimacy to what we see getting rolled out in the Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, etc. So I love to hear those highlights from Dave Filoni along the way, because I don't think anybody has more recorded commentary from Dave Filoni than us outside of Lucasfilm. So we're going to keep making that stuff. We're going to keep digging for gems and making that stuff available to you guys. Like Jason said, youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio, and open up the Filoni files. It'll keep you busy for a while.
All right, got to do a little correction here. Last week, I think, it was last week, right? It was coming out of Groundhog's Day, and I was watching, various YouTube and social media clips of all these different Groundhog Day celebrations where they pull the poor little critter out and set him out and see if he sees his shadow. Every town that has a Groundhog
Sure.
Day.
Nobody celebrates Groundhog Day like Jason Swank. I mean, he decorates the house. He dresses up as the groundhog.
Truth be told,
combing through videos on YouTube.
I have a zoologist wife, and her favorite animal in the world is the groundhog. Strangely enough, so it's a big day. Yeah, it's
a big day.
It's a big day at our house. Anyway, so I overheard her, scrolling through her, Facebook or Instagram feed, and all of a sudden I heard somebody say Billy D. Williams. I go, wait, what was that? What was that? Run that back. Roll back the tape. And so it was a clip from the Milwaukee County Zoo, and the county executive, I think he was given a talk with this at the zoo about Groundhog's Day and all that, and he had mentioned that Groundhog Day was a big day for a lot of celebrity births, including Billy D. Williams. And so we start the show. We're like, happy Groundhog's Day. I'm like, also happy birthday, Billy D. Williams. And Jimmy's like, Billy D., happy birthday. Wait a minute. I don't think this is Billy D's birthday. Anyway, it became a whole thing. And so the next morning, I checked my email. And it's this email from Mac. It's just like, Billy D. Groundhog video or something like that, reminding me to send it to him. So, Jim, I sent it over to you, and you took it down to the RFR labs and video and sound labs. And what did you discover? Am I vindicated?
You are. And we have the audio to play back. This is the audio that sent Star Wars expert and longtime Rebel Force Radio podcast host Jason Swank down the groundhog hole. Do they live in holes?
They do.
They
call them burrows, but it's
burrows,
a hole.
Yeah. So, Jason went down the hole and the groundhog hole. Most people go down the rabbit hole. Jason went down the groundhog hole. And he took this information from this guy, David Crawley, who is a Milwaukee County executive. And he was out there to introduce the gathered masses to the big Groundhog Day event at the Milwaukee County Zoo. And so here's what he said when he was talking about their groundhog. Their groundhog's name is Gordy. Okay, they named these little rodents for this once-a-year thing. And so Gordy... I don't know if you saw his shadow or not, but here's David Crawley with the misinformation.
And I'm excited because today our groundhog Gordy will be making a prediction today. And for those who don't know Gordy will be turning 4 years old this year on April 6th. And this will be his fourth time actually participating in this ceremony. And he is hand raised, so when you think about it, it gives the zookeepers the ability to allow him to participate in events like this. And we're really excited about Groundhog's Day. When you think about Groundhog's Day, you also have some celebrities like Paul Rudd and Billy D. Williams that was born on this day. And so it's an exciting time for us.
Fail. I mean, you heard him say.
I didn't
right there.
dream it, right? I didn't dream this.
He said, he goes, we think of things about on Groundhog Day. We think about celebrities like Billy D. Williams. But he was wrong. He was wrong. Billy D's birthday is April 6th. And Groundhog Day is February 2nd.
Yeah.
So what happened here? What happened? Well, I had to put on my investigative journalism hat and go to the Milwaukee County Zoo webpage, their Facebook page, and find this video. And
hold on.
Yeah.
Bring you this investigative report
much,
from
Jason.
Rebel Force Radio with Jimmy
right.
Mack.
Thank you, Jason. I am Jimmy Mack from the Rebel Force Radio Investigative Report team. And the team has gathered to review this forensic evidence of misinformation being spread on Facebook. Can you believe it, Jason? Misinformation being spread on Facebook. What a world we're living in when something like that could happen.
And from an elected official, no doubt.
Oh, my God.
It never happened.
This is mass hysteria. But here's what happened. I went to their Facebook page and I watched the video and I paused the video to make a comment on the video. And I said, David Crawley was mistaken. Billy D. Williams was born in April, not Groundhog Day. Because I had to stand up for the swankster. I had to stand up for the integrity of RFR. And I do. And I had to do my civic duty as a social media user to identify misinformation, to fact check, so my fellow users don't get misinformation. So, lo and behold, the Milwaukee County Zoo responds to me, and they say, "Correct, correct." Correct, boy wonder. April 6th, which is Gordy's birthday. But as you heard there, the guy didn't say, you think about Gordy's birthday, Gordy sharing a birthday with famous celebrities. He said, Groundhog Day makes you think of the celebrities who have birthdays on this day, including Billy D. Williams.
You think about Groundhog's Day. You also have some celebrities like Paul Rudd and Billy D. Williams that was born on this day.
And Paul Rudd as Mr. Crawley is completely derailed at this point. The actor's name is Paul Rudd. Okay,
Paul Rudd,
Ant-Man.
I was thinking like Paul Rudd, like some old timey actor.
No.
Like, I loved Paul Rudd back in the 30s.
Freaking Ant-Man.
Paul Rudd. Okay. All right. Yeah.
So I responded to the Milwaukee County Zoo after they said, April 6th is Gordy's birthday. And I said, totally not what Mr. Crawley said. But I get your point. He was just confused. By the way, it's Paul Rudd, not Red. Sorry to be such a stickler for accuracy, and happy Groundhog Day.
I couldn't believe when I saw the show notes for this week. I mean, I knew because I sent him the audio so we could share it. I had no idea, Jimmy Mack, that you would be such a justice machine for purity in journalism and the integrity of this kind of thing. And really, let's face it, you know, what Groundhog Day, if Groundhog Day is not all about transparency and honesty, what is it for? And for you to go right to him and say, I object, sir.
Yes, fix this.
Yes.
Do better. Do better.
Do better.
Jeez.
Do the work.
So if you're listening and you happen to follow the Milwaukee County Zoo on Facebook, consider this to be a public service message from Rebel Force Radio to let you know about we take birthday accuracy very, very it's a high priority for us here at Rebel Force Radio, as is Mr. Billy D. Williams.
Oh,
but Paul Rudd too. I'll stand up for him. See, you could tell that David Crawley, right before he went up to the podium, they just like threw a bunch of facts at him.
Yeah, right.
And they probably said to him something like, "You might want to write this down." He's, I got this. Paul Rudd.
I don't need to write anything down.
Groundhog Day birthdays. Oh,
I got it. Gordy, Billy D. Williams, Groundhog Day, Paul Rudd. I got it all right
Paul
up here.
Rudd, Chris Red. I don't know. Who cares? It's Groundhog Day. Nobody cares. Well, we care here on Rebel Force Radio.
Right. You don't use Billy D's name in vain. That's for sure.
Yeah. And a poor, unsuspecting Jason Swank, who's just at home trying to celebrate Groundhog Day with his family, he gets sucked into this vortex of misinformation. So,
yes,
do better, David Crawley, Milwaukee County executive. And what are you the executive of? The county? How does that work? I don't
always wonder what that gig is. I don't know. Are they the ones that have their names on all the gas pumps?
Milwaukee County Zoo.
Yeah.
The executive, David Crawley, what is he executive of? Whenever I work in corporate positions, people, there's a sales executive, there's an executive vice president, it's not just executive.
Right,
this guy's
right.
just an executive. They figure he's the only one who shows up wearing a suit and tie. Let's just call him executive.
Sure.
And send him out to the zoo to make some big, whoop-de-doo announcements about.
Is there a county manager? Is there a county boss? Like, I mean,
boss.
Other like vague titles.
Well, I have heard people refer to themselves as county employees. So
Okay.
I guess they just, they kind of maybe stick with that. But that's irrelevant and has nothing to do with Star Wars or Billy D. Williams. We're just having a lot of fun here at Rebel Force Radio as Jason Swank is vindicated.
Thank you.
We've got a Scorpenek droid chasing us.
Yeah, so if you
Scorpenek's everywhere.
Scorpenek's everywhere. So if you watch Book of Boba Fett this week, and you should have, you notice that there were these droids. Now, when I saw them, Jim, and as soon as I saw them, I go, oh, they're like giant destroyer droids. They're like giant droidicas, and then they threw the force field over themselves, and I go, oh wow, this is going to be tough. This is going to be intense. They even had the eye and all that. Yeah, I had no idea that this was there was pre-existing art with these droids. I thought they were just a brand new thing for Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, this is amazing stuff because there was something about those droids. I said to myself, I know those canon droids, but I never heard Scorpenek used before. But while watching the episode, I'm like, I know I've seen them somewhere. And Matt Bell at the official RFR Facebook group, he posted a picture of a Scorpenek Annihilator droid, an image from the new Essential Guide to Droids from 2006, which I have right here. So I have a book, and I looked it up.
Let's see the cover. Can you show us the cover again?
Oh, sure.
Official. Okay, I remember when that came out. The new Essential Guide to Droids. All right. Those Essential Guides are good stuff. That's good stuff.
Oh, I love them. I love them. They're always within arm reach of me here in the RFR studio. So this is called Colicoid, Annihilator Droid. Mm-hmm. The Colicoids... or colicoids, maybe it's colicoid. The colicoids are an advanced technological society who actually manufactured the droidicas for the Trade Federation.
Oh, so they are sort of related in a way. Same creators.
They are definitely related.
Yeah.
They are definitely related. But so upon seeing that, I started digging through a lot of my art of books for the prequels because I thought I could swear I saw concept art for it in the past. So I pulled out the Art of Attack of the Clones book. Remember this one?
Oh, yeah.
2002.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And on page 108, we have concept art from Doug Chang for the Annihilator droid. And we have some of those images, Jason. You'll see them on our. Okay, so there's one image of the Annihilator droid. You kind of see a lot of the attributes here in place, including the claw legs and the eye. The dimensions are a little bit different. It appears the height seems the same, but it just appears that it might have some smoother edges or something.
Yeah, very prequel era.
Refined it, very prequel era. You can see Doug Chiang refined it in other concept art, like the one Jason just put on the screen here. Now this looks much more consistent with what we saw in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, little boxier, little blockier, chunkier. Yeah.
And you really see the droidica details in here as well, especially with the 2 arms and the blaster cannons. And then there was a third variation on this design.
That's
which
cool.
is more crab-like in
Yes.
nature, I think.
Yeah.
And this may have evolved into the crab droids that we see in action in episode 2. So here's the deets from Doug Chiang. One of the lost concepts for episode 2 was the deadly spider-like Annihilator droid. Before the Annihilator droid was written out, it was going to be one of the powerful next-generation droids, Doug Chiang observed. What was curious was George felt there were too many droids, so he dropped this. But then a bunch of new robots were created for the end battle, but the Annihilator droid never came back.
One of those George rejects.
It's a George reject.
Oh.
It was when Lucas was cutting material in the animatics phase, he realized the Annihilator droid concept could inspire development of fighting droids needed for the banking and commerce clans and the other forces clashing at the end battle. The Annihilator droid concept drawings below Chiang was inspired by the episode 1 Destroyer droid, a.k.a. the droidicas.
Master Destroyers.
For the upright arms of the droid, Chiang was influenced by the look of attacking scorpion pinchers. So now we're starting to get closer to the name of the droid, the Scorpenek.
Scorpenek.
And that goes back to Doug Chiang being influenced by scorpions. So that was just a little fun thing
that's really
I discovered.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Matt Bell, for sending me down that groundhog hole. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And it just, goes to show what, we've observed for a long time following George and the production of Star Wars is that, you never throw anything away. No concepts, no ideas. You just, I mean, when you think about it, it makes total sense. George assembled some of the best minds for, developing concepts. Why would you ever throw anything away? Of course, maybe it's not right for this project, but it'll be perfect for the next project or the next project.
Yeah. And we've certainly seen the Ralph McQuarrie designs, which were scrapped initially. They've been brought back in big waves, it seems like, and now Doug Chiang is getting, his rejections are getting accepted. And so that must be a feel good for him, after all these years.
Yeah.
Hey, that's back. Great.
I wonder, when you look at a guy like Doug Chiang, it took a lot of years for Ralph McQuarrie to sort of become the household name that he was. And, with Doug Chiang, it's like he sprung up around the prequel era, and then it seemed like he sort of just disappeared, and now all of a sudden he's back and creating all of these concepts and digging out some of the old stuff that he did, and so maybe we learned our lesson. Let's continue to heap praise and appreciation on a guy like Doug Chiang, and that doesn't end up kind of off in the wilderness like Ralph did before somebody. It was like the guys like the Dreams and Visions press guys that were like, wait a minute, what's this guy? Why is this guy just sitting around? We need to take him out, bring him to conventions, let him sign, let him talk to the fans. There's a lot of people that would love to talk to him. So anyway, it's always good to kind of go back and see where these things began, and they often began at the pencil tip of a guy like a Ralph McQuarrie or a Doug Chiang.
We've got a Scorpenek Droid chasing us!
All right, we got a couple of headlines here, and then we'll sign off.
have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
We do have a real honest-to-goodness Star Wars birthday here in a second. Unlike last year's erroneous fake news Billy D. Williams birthday. But before we get into that, we've got a little bit more of Tem and Ming before they hit the Flamingo in Vegas. They're still making the rounds promoting the Book of Boba Fett.
They're not going to Vegas.
No, where are they going?
To the Polynesian spa in New Zealand.
All right.
The Polynesian spa.
Even better.
All right. Tem Morrison, Ming Na Wen, they spoke to IMDb, and they were asked by the interviewer how Boba and Fennec would fare against other Star Wars characters in a battle, like Darth Vader, Yoda, Kylo Ren. And they got to one guy in particular, Mace Windu.
Oh.
And Tim Morrison revealed that he would like to see Boba and Mace have a showdown in possibly a future season of the Book of Boba Fett.
Let's hear that.
Mace Windu.
I owe
him big time.
Serious?
For my dad.
Revenge, a little bit.
Oh yes, no, he's done. He's done. I've got my eye on him. He's top of the list, in fact.
Slow torture, though.
Being a young teenager, fatherless, and he had to make his own way. So yeah, he's got a few chips on his shoulders, all right. And I think we better let Jon Favreau know that we should have another series, and I start looking for Mace.
There you go.
Oh, I'm on board for that. Let's get that rematch going on. Crazy
That would
Mace
be pretty
Windu.
exciting.
That would be. Can you imagine?
Who would win? That's the thing. You have an aging bounty hunter who's past his prime. You have a Jedi who was tossed out a window in a metropolitan area where the skyscrapers go 3 miles up into the sky. And he had a big bolt of force lightning on top of it. Now, of course, I've always wanted to see Crazy Mace, the changed Mace Windu, the Mace Windu who's gone to hell and back. He's missing a hand. I think on previous episodes of Rebel Force Radio, we might have thought he was. I might have said he got both hands chopped off, but that's not true. He just lost the one-handed battle when Anakin stopped him from killing Palpatine. I think I was confused with Crazy Dooku at the beginning. Now, he loses 2 hands. He also loses his head. So
yeah, there have been some really cool artist renditions of what a Mace Windu still lurking around in modern Star Wars, what he would look like.
Right.
And Sam Jackson would be. He would be a mod. There's no doubt about that. Mace or Sam Jackson would be all about this.
Yeah.
Right.
He'd be a mod on a purple Vespa, riding into action.
The only thing that they get wrong, I think, on these is I kind of want the crazy hair. I want the wild kind of gray afro going on. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Saw Gerrera look.
Yeah.
Yeah. With one of those little lizards you snort up your nose living in there.
Yeah, because
the little lizard pops up for comic relief every once in a while.
He's like his best friend. And we know that Mace wasn't bald. He shaves his head. He wasn't, but he could grow gorgeous locks anytime he wanted. But he chose as a Jedi, as a Jedi master. He wasn't going to be encumbered by such things.
Right.
Worry about his hair.
Yeah, but now he just lets it all hang out. And he's got he's got the Gecko Geico living up in his hair there. The Geico Gecko. I said that backwards. Geico. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Crazy Mace. Maybe someday. We've been talking about that for about a decade here on Rebel Force Radio. I could trace it back to a show in 2013 where we were talking about our desires to see Crazy Mace. So never say never.
Never say never.
Because it would give an unfettered and like emotionally slippery Mace Windu would give us the opportunity to get some of those great Samuel L. Jackson monologues that he's so famous for making in films.
Oh, yeah. Just talking complete nonsense.
Complete nonsense. Yeah, but it means something if you study the Force.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
And he still has Force abilities too.
Yes.
Even though he's nuts.
All right, make no mistake. This is not misinformation nor fake news. John Williams, the maestro, celebrating his 90th birthday this year. Wow, 90 years young. John Williams.
Right. Right. It's amazing. And I got this great email here. Hey, Jimmy, long time no speak. I've been listening to you guys kill it on RFR and really enjoying your Book of Boba Fett coverage. I just want to make sure you notice this John Williams quote from the piece in the New York Times from his birthday this week. It brought back great memories of your amazing show. Best, Bobby. And Bobby is actually known to most people as Robert Lopez, who is the award-winning composer from such films as Frozen and Frozen 2. Bobby has won Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, and Tonys. He's an EGOT. And he's a friend of ours.
I bet you didn't know we had
Radio.
EGOTs listening to Rebel Force Radio. You didn't know that.
I'm like, it's such a crime that he did not get nominated for an Oscar this year, as the Oscar nominations were made earlier this week. It's such a crime. And Robert Lopez, he didn't work really on any films in the last year, so I still think he should be nominated.
Oh, every year. Every year. But yeah, he's got the gold, and certainly a really great career to back it all up too. So you Disney fans, you love his work in Frozen. God, last time I was at the park, so many people were just walking around like almost in a daze, singing "Let It Go, Let It Go." It was like people were just completely wrapped up in Frozen when I went there. So it was great to hear from Robert Lopez. And here's the quote. Here's the quote from John Williams. John says, "Music has been my oxygen and has kept me alive and interested and occupied and gratified." Well, I'll say this about Mr. Williams' career and his compositions. They certainly have kept me alive and interested and occupied and gratified as well. And Paul Bateman famously made the statement years and years ago that John Williams' music is the oxygen of Star Wars. And so I love to see things come full circle that way. And of course, we had a show called Star Wars Oxygen featuring analytical breakdowns of all the soundtracks, and episodes of Oxygen are no longer available on our regular feed, but they are available to members of our Patreon community, members of the RFR Clone Warrior tier. We are re-releasing episodes of Star Wars Oxygen. They are remastered, re-edited, to remove any sort of dated talk and just get right into the meat of the conversation. They're evergreen now. They're totally evergreen.
I hope they are. Every once in a while, you'll listen to something and you'll be like, "Oh, I could tell this was recorded in 2014." But for the most part, it was such an acclaimed series, and everybody liked it so much. We wanted to make it available first and foremost to our Patreon supporters. So visit RFR on Patreon, patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. Become a Clone Warrior and get access to the Star Wars Oxygen archives and so much more. Bonus podcasts, video, early bird releases, invites to meetups, all kind of cool stuff. So it's all happening on Patreon. Thank you, Robert Lopez.
And, what a legend that guy is. So cool.
Legend. And of course, well known for a lot of his work in stage as well, Jason.
My God, yes. Of course, Frozen and co-writing the Book of Mormon. I mean, do you need any more credibility than that? By the way, the Book of Mormon, which has some awesome Star Wars references. There's a whole bit with Yoda in that show. So yeah, you can tell Mr. Lopez is he's a true fan. He's a true fan.
Yes.
And of course,
he is.
Matt Parker or Trey Parker and Matt Stone, of South Park fame, also big Star Wars fans, those guys.
Oh, yeah. Star Wars references flow like water sometimes on South Park, and we love it when it does. We really do. It also flows like water on The Simpsons.
The Simpsons. Is that like the longest running animated series? It is, right? It's got to be.
It has to be.
By a mile. You can't hardly imagine anything ever coming close to it. We're talking about 20 at least 20 some seasons, maybe 25 seasons.
God, I was like in fourth grade.
That's crazy.
Not quite, but whatever.
Yeah. I was like in fourth grade.
Yeah, right.
No, it debuted in 1989. And
1989.
700, more than 700 episodes since 1989. That's incredible.
Chock full of Star Wars references.
Oh, yeah.
Even this little nugget, I found Homer and Marge at Star Wars in concert at the Hollywood Bowl, or the Springfield Bowl, I should say.
Well, they did a bit on Star Wars in concert?
Aren't you glad we got out of the house and came downtown for a little culture?
They're butchering the classics. Could that bassoon have come in any more late?
Oh, come on, Homer. There's lasers. You like lasers?
Laser effects, mirrored balls. John Williams must be rolling around in his grave.
Not dead yet. Happy 90th, John Williams.
Oh, it's going to wrap things up here for this week. Huge thanks to all of you for downloading the show or streaming it on your podcatcher of choice. Really appreciate the support. And as I say, I hope that you've had a chance to check out the Book of Boba Fett after shows. They've been a blast. I think I might miss those in some ways more than I miss the show itself, because
no doubt.
The show was sort of like the reason to get together, and they get together, the hang on Wednesday nights was just so much fun. But there's going to be more fun where that came from. We've got more Star Wars on TV through Disney Plus happening, as soon as May 25th with Kenobi, and then we know we're going to get another season of Bad Batch. We've got Andor waiting in the wings, and more Mandalorian. So if you haven't had a chance to participate in a RFR after show, there will be plenty of time to do that. In the meantime, you can check them out. They're all on YouTube. And of course, they do come across the podcast feed as well. If you like watching us, in addition to listening to us, you can do so by becoming an all-access member of our Patreon supporters. And you can get this podcast as a full show video, as well as Jim was saying, the Star Wars Oxygen archives are there, Clone Wars Declassified, Remastered, exclusive podcasts like that, as well as the Babu Freaks, Q&A. And now that we're not doing 2 shows a week with Book of Boba Fett after show, it's about time we do a couple of RFR comlinks. So that's just for Patreons, where we answer your questions, your voicemails, your emails. So look for one of those to drop here soon. We're going to do that. Those are a lot of fun to do. And also, when we do those live shows, you can jump to the head of the queue on the RFR switchboard when you identify yourself to our call screener as being a Patreon supporter. And it's just a great community of Star Wars fans. I think the greatest in the whole galaxy. You can, again, go to rebelforceradio.com, click on the Patreon banner, or go over to Patreon. If you're supporting other things on Patreon, just search for us at Rebel Force Radio, and you'll find us over there. YouTube, that's another place to get Rebel Force Radio content. We talked about the Filoni Files earlier. There's a whole playlist dedicated to the Filoni Files. Some great nuggets dropped by Dave Filoni over the years. It really is just a full virtual archive of RFR content over there on YouTube, in addition to the after shows. Classic interviews with Star Wars celebs. Some of them have passed on, sadly, but their words are still captured. Their memories still captured over there at the YouTube channel for Rebel Force Radio. If you'd like to talk to us in between shows, we'd love to hear from you. A couple ways you can do it. You can send us an email, show@rebelforceradio.com. That's show@rebelforceradio.com. The voicemail line is open 24/7. Believe me, we know. We hear those voicemails coming in at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Sorry, guys, I got cut off. Anyway, what I was saying, here's a pro tip. If your voicemail is longer than 2 minutes, you might need to edit yourself down. Cut it down just a little bit. We love to hear from you. 708
2 a.m.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. 708-320-1RFR. That's 708-320-1737. Or you can just leave us, send an attachment of a voice memo or something to the email address. We're available on all the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That Twitter handle is @RFR Rebel Force. Don't be fooled by imitators. And the official website for all things and everything Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. But if you want to support the show, there's no better way than just doing what you're doing right now. Listen to the show, pass it on, tell your friends about us, the Star Wars fan in your life that you think may not have heard about Rebel Force Radio. Let them know that we're here to support their fandom and bring Star Wars Celebration to them each and every week. Please subscribe, please review. If your podcatcher of choice allows you to do such a thing, we love to have those reviews of the show. Just one rule, please.
Make them good.
And we're streaming 24/7 at outlets like Apple Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Samsung, anywhere you can find podcasts, including great Star Wars news sites like Jedi News. Anyway, we'll see you next time. For Rebel Force Radio, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
The Force will be with you, always.
John Williams must be rolling around in his grave.